Japanese folklore meets dark fantasy with a katana. Today's video is sponsored by Capcom's Onimusha Way of the Sword, which is shaping up to feel like being able to dip your hands directly through the screen of a brutal samurai film to manually control the outcome. But to kind of like pre-prepare for Onimusha's launch later in September, I'm going to break down a few combat tips you can go try out in the demo that's live right now, and highlight some of the "I can't believe they actually thought of that" details that I've noticed that you could entirely miss. Like blocking arrows. If you time the block button right before they nail you, the arrow will be parried, physically lodging that crumpled up arrow into the ground. This has an additional function other than just being a cool flex, because when another enemy is near you, an arrow can be parried mid-flight to alter its trajectory into someone's unfortunate face. This allows you to turn incoming projectiles into a defensive combat flourish, sneaking in a little extra damage with some forced friendly fire. When arrows are parried, or any other attacks for that matter, if I pause here, you can see that the parry impacts leave an actual heated mark on the blade where they struck. Parry enough times and the entire blade will ignite with hot blue flames, temporarily increasing your attack power. One of my favorite little details that I appreciate the devs actually thought to add is from these rolly guys that are covered in sharp metal spikes. If you time a parry against their spin attacks and manage to knock them into a nearby wall, they'll actually get fully stuck in that surface, comically fighting to pull themselves out before anyone notices how quickly they just went from menacing to adorably incapacitated. During the stuck-in animation, they're easily set up for a finisher attack slicing through tail to nose. These creatures can kind of be used as weapons themselves if you parry them into nearby enemies. This will either grind their spikes repeatedly into them, or if you use the timed deflect mechanic, this will bounce them directly backwards instead of off to your side. To do a deflect, depending on your control scheme, it's block plus flicking the movement stick, or block plus the examine button. More on deflects in a bit. Most enemies can be parried and knocked into walls, which will break off a big chunk of their stamina, making it useful to choose your fights near surfaces to kinda samurai pinball through the game. Enemies can be bumped into other enemies too to break some of their stamina, so this simple tap of block to parry is one of your best defensive offenses. Next, a little deeper of a mechanic that you could completely miss is the high skill ceiling potential of the Issen Counter. There's a tiny window of opportunity right as an attack is connecting with your body, where you can tap attack with precise timing to automatically dodge around that hit and counter it. Like on this incoming swing right about here, tap either of the attack buttons and you'll phase around the swing to do an Issen Counter. High risk, high reward. Like those spinny wheel guys, if you manage to time this counter on one of them, it'll insta-kill them. Deleted. After triggering the Issen Counter, if you keep tapping attack immediately after, you can chain into a finisher on additional enemies, if any happen to be near you. So at a higher skill level, instead of relying on blocking, parrying, and deflecting, you could just use perfectly timed attack commands to directly counter your way through the entire game. Some streamer fish will probably do it. Back to projectiles for a sec. If you time a deflect on an arrow, it'll repel it back to the attacker. Easy way to handle archers that are posted up on somewhere weird. It seems like any projectiles can be deflected actually, because these Cheeks boys will spit out balls from their magic sacks, and these can be deflected as well, sending them straight back. These odd creatures that I kind of want now as a pet will get grumpy from time to time, engorge, and try to detonate themselves on your head. I'm gonna name mine Squarble. If you press dodge right before this connects though, you'll be able to grab them and manually throw them wherever you want, kind of like an explosive bomb of blue jelly. The next thing is an easier alternative to the Issen Counter, the Blade Barrage. This is done by connecting your katana's blade directly to another incoming blade. So if you see a big obvious swing coming in, time your swing to hit blade to blade, which will then go into the Blade Barrage animation, where you essentially press the opposite attack input to sneak in a hit. So if you clash swords with a one-handed attack, press the two-handed attack input next. Although there is no dedicated jump button in Way of the Sword, you can still do a jump by sprinting off a ledge. In the air you have either a faster horizontal attack or a vertical plunging attack. This is pretty situational to actually make use of, but still, it's a thing you can do, and I like to do all the things. Another just general attention to detail that I appreciate is how your character will dynamically move their arm to block, depending on the angle of the incoming attack. Like if you're holding block facing one direction and someone tries to stab you in the back, your arm will move behind you to guard against it without having to completely turn around. Also, your character will subtly move the direction they hold their katana towards the next incoming attack. Here, shifting from the left to then the right for that next closest enemy. Oh man, that was a squabble. Dang it. If you break multiple enemies' stamina gauges before you trigger the finisher animation on any of them, you can actually set up multiple enemies to be chain finished in a long sequence. This can be useful if you like to stay on the defensive, focusing on parries and deflects to set up targets to be chain takedown. Again, deflects are different than a parry. A deflect, depending on your control scheme, is block plus flicking the movement stick or block plus the examine button. Deflects will generally drain a lot more stamina from the enemy, whereas parries will heat up your blade where you get that damage buff the more times you parry. Here against this boss you can really see the difference between the two. The parry will do about 300 off of his stamina gauge, but do a deflect and this does a massive 1875. So in this case, against a katana wielding boss, it's best to just go for timed deflects, because this will quickly set the boss up for one of these targeted strikes. During this, you can either pick the red section for one free super hard hit, or pick the purple spot to gain orbs, which will give you back health and weapon charge. There's two ways to dodge here. You can press a movement direction and dodge to do the normal side-to-side dodge, or just tap dodge with no directional input to do the stylish stationary dodge instead, letting you hold your ground. Timing perfect dodges will build up the red reflex gauge down in the bottom right corner, and when that meter is full, the next perfect dodge that you do triggers a brief slow-mo, which can be chained into a reflex combo. A little detail to this system that I noticed is, against unarmed attacks, like you see this guy reloading his foot for a kick, dodging then striking after these unarmed attacks actually turns your sword around to hit with the handle. The detail in these combat animations is just next level. Another subtle thing I noticed is how your character readies the katana differently depending on the length of the combo. The way he moves his arm down after an attack changes in animation depending on what point in the combo he ended on. His face also shows different emotions tied directly to which type of attack was last in that sequence. Oh, that one felt good. There's a lot of detail put into the katana itself, so let's put this 4K to work. If you get up real close, you can see some kind of family crest or maker's emblem right here, and if you know what that symbol stands for, let me know. The detailing on the guard here, some of its design elements can be seen woven into the handle as well, with sections of it going under the wrapping. On the blade, you can make out all kinds of tiny scratches and flakes in the metal, along with the oil or whatever it is, that light marking that goes along the edge of the blade. Comment section, I know for a fact you're going to tell me the exact forging process that leaves that wavy mark at the edge of katanas. This is what you were born for. And now the last detail that I want to talk about today is about the difficulty options, because you don't have to be the hardest of hardcore to play Onimusha. You can samurai power fantasy all you want and see the story all the way through, even if you don't play a ton of action games, since there is a dedicated story mode difficulty. This also enables a setting where suggested prompts will pop up on enemies themselves before they start an attack, giving you kind of like pre-awareness. You can set this action prompt setting to on or off under the gameplay tab in the options. Alright, so that's just some of the stuff that jumped out to me during the playthrough of this demo of Onimusha Way of the Sword. The demo's live right now if you want to go give it a try, and you also get some in-game rewards for the full thing when it's released later September. If you're here and you've already played through that demo though, tell me, what are your thoughts? By the way, I'll also have a link down in the video description and in my pinned comment to pre-order Onimusha Way of the Sword on PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. There's multiple in-game rewards for pre-ordering if you're into that. Okay, now a big thanks to Capcom for sponsoring this video, and for continuing to make games for gamers that love games. Yeah. Alright, now, I'm leaving for Summer Game Fest to actually go play more Onimusha, so I'll be back as soon as I come back. As always, I'm Alex, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.